Tori here with this really cool project and process video. If you saw my last video on YouTube, you would have seen an unboxing and assembling of the Make It Mine Exploding Love Note hexagon box, and today I'm going to decorate it. It's so cool. Basically, it's got all these pockets and flaps that flip out when you take the lid off, and it comes with all these really cool inserts and everything too. And it's kind of like an exploding scrapbook, if that's like probably the best way to describe it. And you take off the lid and another like set falls out. And there's all these great places where you can add your photos and your journaling and your notes and everything. And if you want to go check out the unboxing and assembly, there is a playlist on my channel all about this Make It Mine unboxing and project and everything. I ended up doing the unboxing and assembling in one video and the process video of actually putting it together in this video just because it was so long, and I didn't think anyone would want to sit through that long of a video, so I decided to split them in two. So in this one, I'm going to be doing the process video, showing you how I decorate it and put it all together, and then showing you the finished project. So I'm going to start by kind of putting it back together and only having the biggest layer out because I thought it would be easier to decorate kind of layer by layer. So basically you just kind of put the lid on and lift the flaps up and it kind of goes back together and it works really well. Just one thing I wanted to mention while I work on this is that I did not buy this. Make It Mine sent it to me, so this is kind of like a sponsored collaboration. But I had so much fun making it. Like, I told them that I would give an honest review, and I've always given you guys honest reviews of what I've thought about things. And like the cardboard that it's made with is a little thin. I wish it was a little thicker. But in the end, other than the cardboard being a little thinner than I wish it was, I had so much fun and it is so cool, and it is like the most epic thing I've ever made, I think. Like, honestly, I'm not even joking. Like, my sister's wedding scrapbook and this are like the two best things I've ever made. I mean, like, I know that I'm supposed to be humble and stuff like that, but I just had so much fun putting it together, and I actually made it as a birthday present for my mom, and when I gave it to her, she was just so blown away because she thought it was so cool. So, yeah, I don't know, it was really fun. I would totally recommend checking them out if you want to make like the most epic scrapbook ever or a great present for somebody. They call them love notes, and I can totally see why, because I feel like whoever you gave it to would feel loved because you like made it for them. So I have been really, okay, this is unrelated to the love notes thing, but kind of related. I have been really cautious lately about how much scrapbook supplies I buy, and I haven't bought a bunch of new stuff lately, and the number one reason for that is because I'm moving to Kenya in July, and I can't take all of my scrapbooking supplies with me. Like, I'm going to take some stuff, but basically I think all of my scrapbooking supplies have to fit in like one 50-pound suitcase. So I'm going to have to get rid of like probably 3/4 of my stuff. Yeah. Which is crazy. And because of that, I don't want to buy a ton more stuff because I don't need it, and I'm going to end up just having to get rid of it. So I've been working through the supplies that I have too, whenever I'm like making projects. So I thought for this project, it would be kind of fun to work through my 6x6 paper pads. Like, I don't have a ton of them. I mostly just have ones that come from Pink Paisley's Pink Paisley and Create Paper. Like, and when I say Pink Paisley, I'm talking about the awesome Paige Evans collections. So I just pulled out a bunch of 6x6 papers from those different collections, basically, and I'm going to use that on the scrapbook. So, the scrapbook exploding box. I don't really know what to call it. I'm going to call it an exploding box. So what I did was I cut down a bunch of paper so that I could put it on those 6 flaps that fold out, and I cut it down so that it would fit, and then I rounded 2 of the edges because you can see that the outside edges of the flaps are rounded. So I just rounded those, and then I'm going to add my photos on top. And to kind of keep it simple, because this is such a big project and I knew it was going to take me a really long time, I decided to just keep it pretty consistent how I decorated each of the flaps that come out. So each of them will have a piece of pattern paper under it, and then a photo with a white mat on top of that, and then I'll just add some like embellishments and stuff later, and I'll do the embellishments later. But now I'm just adding all of the photos down and putting them where I want them. And once I have all of the photos down on all of the flaps, then I will go back and add the embellishments and things like that. So once I had the biggest flaps done, I moved to the inner ones, and I basically printed off a ton of photos, and then I am just kind of putting them where I want them. I have to trim some of them down so that they fit properly. And so in terms of how many photos I printed, I literally just went through my entire camera roll and printed off any pictures that I thought would work. And I'm pretty sure I printed off like maybe 50, 60 photos. And I used most of them on these and the inserts and all of the different areas. So you'll get to see me use all of those great photos. So basically what I wanted to do was I wanted to make this awesome exploding box thing for my mom, just with a bunch of photos of like all of our family members, my dad and her and my siblings and my siblings-in-law, and my family, like my grandparents and stuff like that. So I just like printed off any pictures that I had of those people, like all of my favorite ones, and I printed some of them 4x4, but then the rest of them I printed 3x4 because I figured 3x4 I could cut down a little bit more if I needed to. And I am adding a white kind of like mat around all of the photos just because I'm using so many different pattern papers here. Like I kind of was going a little crazy. Like I didn't have a consistent theme for the pattern papers. So I thought that by adding a white photo mat to all of the photos, it might make it look a little bit more cohesive. And in the end, it really does. So if you're going to do a project like this and use tons of different pattern paper and you want it to look cohesive, adding a photo mat like in white or another color can kind of bring it all together. And the other thing that kind of brought it all together is you can see that the Love Note exploding box here I have is black in color. And I kind of felt like the black made all of the photos pop and actually made the really pretty pattern paper that I use pop too. So it ended up working out perfectly. Now, on these inserts on the second layer, there is kind of like a little tab that's punched out where you can see. So I wanted that tab to also show up on the pattern papers that I'm putting down. So basically what I did was I got a 1/2-inch circle punch and I kind of put the paper down, used a pen to just mark where the hole was, and then I punched out the half of the circle so that my little inserts will have that half circle tab in there too. And it ended up working really well for that. Now, I think you could pick a pattern paper theme and try to go with like a certain theme like travel or all blues or all pinks or something, and that would actually look really pretty. I wanted something like really bright and colorful, and since all of the photos are from like multiple years and multiple places, it kind of felt like it fit with what was going on here. So, yeah, I just kind of went with whatever was in the paper pads that I had, and I ended up using like half of my 6x6 paper pads, which in my mind is like, yay! I love using at my stash because I feel like that's why I bought it, was so that I could use it. So getting to use it is the best. So I am using double-sided adhesive here today, and I think you could use wet adhesive if you wanted to. I could have probably also used my glue gun, but I thought that dry adhesive would work really well for this project just because I know it's super strong. So I used Secura, I think that's how you say it, double-sided adhesive. and it's super strong, and then you don't have to wait for it to dry like you would with a wet glue or like a glue stick or something like that. And then I didn't want to use my hot glue gun just because, even though I do love it, I didn't want to use it just because I thought it would be a kind of bumpy, and I wanted everything to stay fairly flat. Like, you'll even see that the embellishments that I add later are mostly like stickers and flat, like some of them were puffy stickers and stuff like that and labels and stuff, but mostly flat embellishments. There's nothing really here that's like super dimensional. Just because I thought it would fit better with the flaps flipping up and down when you take off the lids and stuff like that. But anywho, I do have pictures of all of these of the finished project, and I'm going to put those up on my blog. So I'll leave a link for my blog in the description below. So that you can see close-ups if you want. I know it's moving really fast, so I'm sorry if it's giving you a little bit of like vertigo or dizziness or something like that. But basically, this exploding box love note creation thing took me about 3 hours to put together, like adding all of the papers and cutting all the photos and adding all of the embellishments and stuff. And I wanted to show you guys a process video of it. But I was like, how do I show a 3-hour process video? Like, that is really challenging for me, especially when most of the projects that I create on here take me like an hour maximum, and then I can narrow that down to like a 15-minute video. But a 3-hour video narrowing it down into 15 minutes was very challenging. So, and it's not 15 minutes, it's going to end up being like 30 something minutes, but whatever. What I did was I have sped the video up like 20 times regular speed. So you'll just have to forgive me for that. And the reason is because I didn't want you guys to be here forever. And I have cut out some things along the way, like some of the adding adhesive or the trimming down of the photos and stuff like that, just to kind of keep it consistent. But you know, basically you get the idea of what I'm creating here. I'm just adding down the photos and adding down the scrapbook papers, making it super bright. And I'm going to do this for all 4 of the main layers, is add the paper, add the photos, making the photos with photo mats. And I'm going to skip ahead now that you kind of get the gist of what I'm doing to the part where I am adding the embellishments and stuff. So just give me one moment. So now that all of the 4 main like flip out layers are done, I'm going to pack it back up and I'm going to work on some of the inserts and things. So the 2 main layers, like the 2 biggest layers of this exploding box, have pockets, and they give you all of these great like photo mats and inserts and funky flip out thingamabobbers, and when you use those, it gives you like little extra spaces to add journaling and add photos and stuff like that. So what I'm going to work on now is going through all of those inserts, adding scrapbook paper, or these 6x6 papers, and the extra photos that I have. And I love that this is like a great way to get all those extra photos that you printed off in there. And honestly, you don't have to add a photo to every single spot like I did on those flip out tabs and on these inserts. You could just add, like, leave them blank and add journaling. But from my perspective, I wanted to add as many photos as I possibly could to the exploding box, because I wanted all of my family members to be in there. And I also knew that my mom would appreciate most, like, getting to see lots of family photos. And the thing is, one of the reasons I wanted to make this exploding love note box thing for her was that my younger sister and her husband are currently living in France, and then my brother and his wife are going to live in England, or well, they live in England, and I am moving to Kenya in July, and I just feel like kind of sad for my mom because she's gonna miss us, and we're so far away because she's in Canada and then the rest of us are like in different countries. I always joke that we'll have to spend Christmas every year in a different country, which is kind of fun, but also kind of sad that we don't get to see each other very often. So I wanted to make this kind of box for her so that whenever she was missing us and feeling like she wanted to see her kids, she could just kind of open the box and take a look at all of the pictures, and I know that she'll really enjoy that. So yeah, so what I did was I cut down a bunch of those 6x6 paper pads, added those, and then added the photos to those spots too. So I love all of the inserts that they give you. They're so unique and really fun. And I had a lot of fun putting the photos and the papers on them. Like this one, which all folds out. I added all these papers, and I did use a 2-inch square punch to punch out my photos to make those fit. And then there's this little flap one. And basically on all of them, I did the same thing. I added the photos, or I added the scrapbook paper and a photo on them. I did leave photos off of some of the more unique shapes because they're a little harder to add the photo and get it the right size, but I'll show you how I did those in a minute. But first I did all of these little photo mats and just added paper on them and added my photos. And I did use my corner rounder just to make all of the edges rounded and even the photos rounded so that it would fit better. And the great part about this is that all of these little inserts and everything, you can stick in all these little pockets and they fit perfectly, and it's creating this like really fun project where you'll get to like pull off the lid and it'll fold out, but then you'll get to like peek into each of the pockets, and in each of the pockets you'll find like an extra insert and things like that. So I just kind of tucked those in just to kind of get an idea of where I wanted them and also to get them out of the way. And then in the middle box, or the tiniest box that goes on the middle, I use that big unfolding one. Now, originally I thought about the idea of adding a photo to that center part there, but in the end I decided against it just because it felt like too much. I wanted that like black space where your eye could kind of rest. I just felt like it would kind of give your eye a break from all the photos and colors. So I'm going to put that aside, and while I pulled it aside, I realized something. So if you watched my last video where I did the unboxing and the assembly, you'll notice that I did a mistake where I put the biggest one backwards. And what ended up happening is because I put it backwards, the things that you put in the insert actually fall out. So I need a solution for that. So what I did was I just put the box aside for a minute, and I'm going to just keep crafting while I try to come up with a solution for how to fix this so that my inserts don't fall out of the bottom of the box. But when you're making this, if you assembled it correctly and not the way that I did in my assembly, you wouldn't have that problem. So I think that that is more user error than box error. It's definitely my fault. Anyways, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this pile of extra photos that I have and try to find photos to put on these unique shaped inserts that they give you. So I'm starting with this house one. And the house one has this like circle in it, and I wanted to find a photo that like when it was closed you could kind of see through to it and it would intrigue you to open it up. So I'm just kind of going through some of the different photos, and I found this one of my mom and dad, and they look so cute in that little circle, and then when you open it up you get to see the whole photo of them. So I decided to use that one. And what I did is I'm going to just trim it down so that it fits better in that little house. I had to trim it down a couple of times because I didn't really measure, and because it's not like a perfect triangle, or rectangle, it's kind of a unique shape that kind of concaves in. It was a little hard to know exactly what size to make it, so I just kind of kept trimming until I got it to the size I wanted. And on this one I did use wet glue because I wanted to make sure that I got the photo exactly so that their faces would poke through that circle. And then on the back, I decided to add a photo there too, and it's just a photo of my mom at work, and kind of put that on that spot there. And basically what I did for each of the unique shapes was I tried to find photos that I felt would kind of fit in that space. So on this one, there's this really cool like floral piece that pops out. And for a while, I struggled to figure out how to get that photo cut to the size that I needed. But then I came up with a solution, so you could definitely try this. I used an extra piece of cardboard from the back of one of those 6x6 paper pads. I traced the shape, and then what I did was I marked half an inch, a quarter of an inch in on all of the sides. And then what I'll use is my scissors just to trim it down so that it's basically the hexagon, but it's half an inch smaller, if that makes sense. Originally I did a quarter inch and I felt like it wasn't enough, so I'm going to just do it again. And I'm just using my ruler and a pen to mark it, and then I use my scissors to trim it down. And that was like the perfect way to get the photo shape that I needed for that spot. And then once I had that cardboard cut down to the right size, I used that as a template for cutting my photo so that my photo would fit in that spot. So it was actually, like, it actually worked out really well, and I was like proud of myself for coming up with that solution. And because that unique shape has two pieces, like the outside piece and the inside piece that both need to be cut that way, I was able to use that template that I created twice for both of the photos that I cut down. So now there's a photo on the inside of that flower and on the outside. And I basically did that same trick where I used the template, or I used the exploding piece, I don't know what to call it, traced it on some cardboard, trimmed it down a quarter or a half an inch, and then used that to trim my paper and to trim my photos, so that they were the right size for what I needed for my project. And it worked out super great. Like on this one, which kind of looks like a heart with a lock piece on it, it kind of looks like a heart lock. I was able to use that 4 times because there's 4 spots where I added photos. On this one, I didn't end up adding any photos. I just ended up cutting out 4 different pieces of pattern paper and putting paper on that unlock box, just because it's such a small place that putting a photo there just felt like it didn't really fit well. So I decided just to add the patterned paper to make it bright and colorful, and then I was going to add my journaling on top of those patterned papers that I added there. And it ended up working out perfectly because it gave me a great space to add like a message for my mom and everything like that. So yeah, so you can see it just adds a little bright colorfulness, and yeah, it worked out well. So I'll do that same trick again with this heart, and this heart is bigger, so it gives me lots of space to add some more photos. You can see there, just sorry if it's bothering you, but I was watching Netflix, so on the right hand side you can see a little bit of my Netflix. I didn't realize it was on camera, so sorry about that. Hopefully it doesn't distract you too much from what I am creating here. And I'll come back and show you guys what the finished projects look like when I'm done. So there you have it. There are all of those little inserts that are unique shapes, and I'm just going to open them so you can check out where I have the pattern paper and the photos and how it worked out really well to use that template. On some of them I left them blank so I could add journaling, and then on other ones I added those photos, and it just gave me like some really fun places to add some more photos to this project. And I know they're going to be really cute when you put them in those pockets on the exploding box, and you can open it up and they like have all these fun unique pop-up items. It's like a grown-ups pop-up book is basically the way that I'm looking at it. So now that I finished that, I did figure out how I was going to fix my problem of these holes in the bottom. So what I decided to do was to get some more pattern paper that I had, and I had to use like 12 by 12 sheets, and trim it so that it could kind of overlap. So it would go along that side flap and then overlap along the bottom of the box so that I could cover up that spot where they were falling out. So I'll just show you how I do the first one, and then I'll skip ahead so you don't have to watch all of them. But basically I trimmed the width and the height, and then I grabbed out my paper trimmer and I trimmed out these different pieces of scrapbook paper so that they were the right width and height. And I added, I believe, 2 inches to the height so that it would be able to fold over to the bottom of the box. But I'll show you that as I'm going. It'll make more sense as I do it, because sometimes it's hard to explain something, but when you see what I'm doing, you'll kind of get it better. So I cut it down so it was the right width, and then I'll cut it down, or no, the right height, and then I'll cut it down so it's the right width, sorry. And I just took 6 different pattern papers. I probably could have done it all the same pattern papers, but since the box is so colorful, I thought it would be cute if the outside of the box was also colorful and bright. It kind of like invites you in to look at the rest of the box, is the way that I look at it. And once I had those trimmed down to the right size and the right height, then what I'll do is I'll use my scoreboard to score at that like 2-inch line, or where the extra is, so that it folds in the right place. I probably could have folded it too, but I wanted it to be like more exact. So you'll see I basically use my scoreboard and score it along that line so that it's in the right place. And then what I'll do is I'll fold along that spot, and then I'll use dry adhesive or my double-sided tape to adhere it to the box, overlapping about 2 inches on the top. And I did use my corner rounder just on the bottom part of that flap, just because if you look at the actual box, it's rounded, and I didn't want it to look like square when there were rounded edges. And then I also used my 1/2-inch circle punch again to punch out those tabs that were on the box, just so that the tabs also matched up with what was on the box. So once I had all 6 of them done, I just adhered it and flapped it over, and then took off the rest of the score tape and adhered it down. And now my inserts won't fall out because I've covered up that hole. And I'm just going to repeat for all of the sides. And once that's done, I can start adding all of my embellishments and pretty things to it. So I decided to just pull out next to me all of my stickers and puffy stickers and letter stickers and washi tapes and all of those kind of goodies. I really wanted to keep all of my embellishments fairly flat, just because I felt like I didn't want to use anything too dimensional. And again, like I mentioned earlier, my hope is to try to use up as much of my scrapbooking supplies as I can before I go to Kenya and have to give away a bunch of stuff. Not that I don't mind giving it away or selling it or getting rid of it and getting it to a new home, but I bought the stuff so that I could use them, so I'd love to find ways to use them. And this is like the greatest project to be able to use your embellishments and supplies on. And because it's super colorful, I didn't feel like I needed to stick with one color scheme. I could kind of just go crazy and add whatever made me happy. So on most of them, I added like a piece of washi tape or a label, and then I just added some random stickers and embellishments on top of that. And I'm not going to go through, like, I hope this is okay, but my plan is not to go through each one very slowly and show you how I did it, just because honestly, guys, like, we would be here forever, and I don't think anybody would really appreciate that. So I'm just gonna give you guys some tips and stuff like that for basically how to do it, and then I'm gonna skip ahead and show you the finished project. And my suggestion is, if you want to check out like more detailed photos and actually be able to see what each of the flaps and things look like, head over to my blog and I'll put photos and everything there. So basically the way that I did it, because I wanted to keep it consistent and help it move fast, was I took one large sticker, label, or washi tape and put that down. Then I picked another, like a medium-sized sticker, button, camera sticker, watermelon sticker, or whatever, and stuck that down, overlapping that piece of washi tape. Then I went back with tiny word stickers and added like a phrase on some of those. And then I went and I added just some finishing details with some enamel dots or puffy stickers or like shape stickers, just to like finish it off. And I tried to keep it, because it's so busy and really colorful, the embellishments that I added onto each of the photos were mostly like, I tried to keep it to like the photos or the colors that were in the photo and in the scrapbook paper that's there. But basically the pattern was the same. Add down a washi tape or a label, add down a larger embellishment, add down a tiny word sticker, and then finish it off with a sprinkle of puffy stickers or enamel dots or sparkly things. Yeah. So it's pretty much the same thing. When I got to the smaller flaps, I went even simpler just because I felt like there was too much going on. So for example, on those ones, I just added like just a tiny word sticker and maybe just one enamel dot instead of like all the things just because it felt like too much. And then somehow my camera like deleted some footage, so I'm sorry about that, but I did decorate the lids and I added I love you, you love me, we're a happy family, just with different stickers that I had, like puffy stickers and word letter stickers that I had. And that comes from this like cute little song that my family used to sing when we were kids. I'm not going to sing it for you because I can't sing, but the words of the song were, they kind of go to the like sound of Barney, if you've ever watched the Barney show. And it was like our family song, and it just went, I love you and you love me. We're a happy family with a mom, dad, 2 girls, and a happy son. We think Jesus is number one. Like, this is so lame. But that was our family like theme song as kids. So I just thought it would be fun on the box lids to put I love you and you love me. We're a happy family. Because I thought that it would make my mom smile, and she used to sing that to us all the time. I'm kind of embarrassed now that I said that, but at least I'm not as embarrassed as I would be if I sang the song to you. Then I would be seriously embarrassed. But yeah, it was cute. So once I had finished adding all of my embellishments, I went back and I added some journaling. And I added the journaling by just basically pulling out flaps and tabs and inserts and things, and just added like just little messages to my mom like I love you, or you're the best mom, thanks for being so awesome, and kind of put those where they needed to be. So again, I'm going to skip ahead just because I don't think you need to watch me add journaling to all of these different labels and things. But when I come back, I'll show you what the whole finished project looks like. Can't wait to show you. And I'm just going to remind you one more time, if you want to find links to Make It Mine and where you can get this awesome box, you'll find those in my description. You'll find photos over on my blog, and I will see you soon back here on this channel. So make sure you subscribe, and I would love to hear what you think of the project, so leave a comment below. Talk to you soon. Bye.